Alright guys, so in this video we are going to do a quick review on the Outriders demo as it stands. I know that there's a lot of channels out there that do game reviews, so if you've stumbled upon this one, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the game review. Hopefully it's different than all the ones out there, and trust me, I watch most of them. Angry Joe reviews, Jeremy Johns, Before You Buy, all of those ones. So this is just another person putting their opinion out on the internet. With some gameplay and background and stuff like that. So if you enjoy, let me know and we'll get into it. Alright, so to start, the game was overall really fun. Like, I definitely recommend trying out the demo. If you haven't seen it, the demo is, it will carry over progress. So whatever progress you make, you can carry it over if you purchase the other game, which I know some people care about. Like, I like knowing that I can transfer the stuff over. The game tells you a couple of times too, so if that's one thing you're wondering about before getting it, if you do progress in the demo, that will carry over if you buy the full game. And overall, like, I played the game for about 6 hours to get a feel for each class before making this. And at no point in that was I bored. Like, it's overall a pretty fun game. The two, and we'll get into the classes later, but there's two classes that stand out as far as the fun factor, just because they're a little bit more like fast paced and run and gun and stuff like that. So it makes the combat a lot more exciting. The main issue I have with the game, at least the demo, is it doesn't feel like a demo for like a finished and polished game. It more seems like a game test beta that would be put out as a open beta before the game drops. I think the game has exactly a month before it is fully released, and honestly, it just doesn't feel like a finished game to me. There's a few, and it's not even like in the bug department. Like, you know, if we reference like Cyberpunk, where that's just bug after bug after bug. It's not exactly like bugs or glitches, even though I did have a couple. I had one full crash, and I had some other small bugs throughout it. Like, that mostly was fine. The game in general just feels a little shallow as far as like gameplay goes. So I'll get into that later. Overall, it wasn't like a bad game, but we'll cover the good stuff first. So overall, and I'll have it in the background here, the character customization is pretty simple and straightforward, but I feel like it provides, you know, what you would want out of a simple character creation for something like this. You can change your hair, your face, facial hair, makeup for females and males respectively, and then you can add like piercings and markings and stuff like that. Like I said, simple to the point, but I really like it. The character models come out pretty well. There could be more choices for hair. It felt pretty limited, and then most of it was just strictly like short hair for the most part. So there could be, like I said, like it's a very shallow game. Like, there could be a lot more added to make it feel a little bit more complete. But overall, like, the character customization was pretty good. And in game too, you can actually, there is a station where you can fully like redo your character, like not just hair and beard and stuff like that, but you can actually redo like the face model and hair color and everything like that. So you're not like stuck. I don't think you can change gender. I'll have to reference it, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself in the video, but I don't believe you can change your gender from the station, but you can change how you look, which is really cool because certain games, Cyberpunk, don't do that. So it's really nice that you can just change your character at will. Another thing is the load times between certain things are extremely fast. And this is kind of commenting on like something like Anthem when it came out, where just going between like two zones adjacent to each other felt like it took forever to load. And in this game, let's see, the there's loading times between like fast travel points, which were fairly quick, or almost instant. The only time that there was really a like loading screen was, I think, between like cutscenes or between like loading like into the world, but between fast travel points is generally pretty fast. So that's always a good plus. And then I think this is where I'm gonna say spoiler warning. I'll be getting into like the beginning prologue story, which I'm sure is not really like a spoiler warning type thing, since every let's play starts with it. I'm pretty sure it gets spoiled in like the promotional stuff for it, but just in case you want to play the demo yourself and experience what the beginning of the story is, spoiler warning. Plus other elements in the game. But one of the fun bits is that the side quests in the game are like strictly these like offshoots. Like if you're thinking of like a typical RPG where you collect just random side quests, side questing in this game are really just like offshoots into these. The game calls them arenas. So each like mission is built up of different arenas. You'll know it as soon as you walk into one because there's a bunch of barricades and enemies spawn. They're pretty straightforward as far as these arenas go. And these side quests are basically just shortened version of missions where you go between maybe one or two different arena sections, and it usually ends with like a main boss or a story element, like a cutscene or something like that. And I think that's really cool. There's no like back and forth with quests in this game. The quests are really just you start the mission here, you shoot some enemies, maybe there's a boss, you collect some stuff on the way. It's very simple, which can be good and bad. I think it works for this game, just keeping like the flow pretty fast paced. It would be interesting to see how it goes long term, like doing it over and over. All the arenas were different, as far as like the waves of enemies, the layout, and things like that. So it never really was like it felt like the same thing over and over again. Even when I was playing all four different characters on the same levels, they all play so differently that it never felt like I was playing the same encounter. So that's definitely going for it. As far as like what it calls quests, you'll see from time to time in the background it's called world tiers, where basically you can change like the difficulty of the world and it gives you more loot and harder enemies and stuff like that. But like each mission you like start, it's pretty linear. In this game it's really linear. There's not a whole lot of exploration to get done, so this is going to start getting into some of the bad side of it. There's no verticality. You can't jump. You got dodge slash climb over things, and you got cover. It's a cover system based game like Gears, and but there's no verticality. Like if you want to go up a hill, there's usually like predefined stairs for you to follow. Like you can't jump up anything. You can't grab a ledge that your person would normally be able to jump up to, which I feel like you're missing out on a lot. And each arena, each quest is very, very linear. You follow a preset path, even though it looks like oh, there's a doorway you can go through, or there's a window. Nope, it's just gonna basically railroad you through the mission, and then you open up into an area with a bunch of barricades. You fight some enemies, you continue on. So that part is where it kind of gets me, and we'll get into more of the bad stuff. But like if you just want like an overall, that pretty much covers it, as far as like what the game is like to play. And I'll have gameplay in the background while we do this. We'll put no cutscenes, just strict gameplay, so that you can kind of see. I'll try and show like each ability and stuff like that. So before we get into any more of the bad stuff, we'll explain the different classes. So the first one that I played, which is the one that seemed like the easiest to solo, was the Technomancer. That class's main ability is that anytime you hit an enemy for damage, you heal. And this is different than the other three, which the other three, you have to get a kill in order to heal. For the most part, with ads, that doesn't matter, right? Like that you get little healing from the Technomancer perk, and you get a lot of healing from the other ones where you actually kill an enemy to heal. But it really matters when it comes to the boss fight, which even on the Technomancer, which I would say is the easiest to do to solo boss fights, especially boss fights that have no ads, and I'll show that in here what I mean. But in the Technomancer, because he can heal just from hitting someone, because he can heal on every hit, it makes bosses way easier. Just because you can constantly heal yourself just by hitting, you don't have to kill the boss in order to heal, if that makes sense. So I did start with him just because I figured it would be easier to solo. In the selection screen, it says like it's good for long range. It has pretty decent long range abilities, and is, from what I can tell, a pretty decent support class. Like it has some abilities that heals all party members, stuff like that. And then you have the Pyromancer, which is medium range, and their abilities. So to heal, you have to kill someone that just was taking damage from one of your abilities at some point, essentially. So it doesn't matter if as long as you catch them on fire at some point, essentially, and you kill them, or your teammates kill them, you'll heal from it. Their abilities are okay. I think out of all of them, the Pyromancer was not the most fun, just because their abilities, they're primarily dot effects, meaning they don't do a lot of just all-out damage. You have to wait for the tick to keep taking damage in order to do anything, and that time the enemy can definitely be shooting you. They don't get like stunned or anything while they're burning. So you get hit a lot more as the Pyromancer. But most of their abilities will cut straight through like barriers and stuff like that to get people behind them. I think most of the abilities do, but when I was playing them, it felt a lot more. Like if you need to get an enemy out of cover, you can catch them on fire or grab them and they stand up, and then you can shoot them from there. And then the Trickster was the third one I played. If you can't tell, I also kind of just followed them in line from the class graphic. But Trickster is the next one I played, and that one honestly was probably the most fun to play. And you'll see in the gameplay, like it is just run and gun. You anytime I load into a zone, the first thing I do is I just try to run up and just start using my abilities, blasting enemies in the face. Like it was probably the most fun to play. Like if I did get this game, that would probably be the one that I start first, and see how much I like it. They do a lot of damage, and taking care of enemies is really nice with their like slow effects, because it helps cut down on being overwhelmed. And then and they're short range. And then the Devastator, which is the last one, also close range. Wasn't quite as much fun as the Trickster, but the close range classes are definitely more fun than the other two. And it does a lot of damage. The only like caveat is that it does a lot of damage and you can take a lot of damage. You just don't have a lot of like stopping power. So like in the Trickster class, where you have the stop time effects, that way you don't get overwhelmed. You don't have anything like that in Devastator, so you're constantly getting hit. You're just hoping to put out enough damage to kill people and not be killed. The Trickster and the Devastator both have the same healing condition, which is kill enemies close by. Enemies will have little skull with a plus, I think it is, on their health bar, letting you know like they're within range. So if you kill them within this range, then you'll heal. So those ones are pretty nice. The only thing that really sucks about that is like you can't really snipe with those characters because you have to kill close in order to heal. So you're pretty much forced to be up close. But I think out of all of those, the Trickster was probably my favorite. Alright, so now with the different classes out of the way, which between my explanation of them and the end of this, I'll try and show off as much of their abilities as possible so you can kind of see what I mean, as far as like using them, or using each class and each ability. And in each of the playthroughs, I got to about level 5, which unlocks you all 3 main skills or abilities, and you get like 1 class point, which I put them all into gun damage, to keep everything pretty even, to seem like the best class perk that you can buy at the beginning there. The thing to say, so the prologue, starting with character creation to the end of the prologue, the first time I played was about an hour long, with cutscenes, and the kind of like tutorial that they give you at the beginning, which is really just like walking and then sprinting and shooting your gun, and really nothing of like decent substance, unfortunately. It's really long. It's a pretty long prologue for a total of an hour to spend in it, but it really sets up the story, which, like I said, spoiler alert, I'm gonna spoil the very beginning of the game, because it kind of sets up the kind of weird story and plot that they have, which to me is one of the biggest downsides to the game. The story and plot and like overall dialogue and stuff like that just never really hit for me. Like the game's fun, but like listening to character dialogue or watching the cutscenes really just didn't add anything to the game for me. But essentially, kind of like what is it, Mass Effect Andromeda, where you're sent light years away from Earth to find a new home for humanity. In this game, I guess we have completely destroyed the planet Earth, so we're leaving a just barren, desolate planet, in search of a new planet to inhabit. We were 2 ships to leave. I don't think they specified how many people, but at some point they say that there's 500,000 or 1 million in cryo, so quite a few people, about a big city's worth of people, I think, per large ship. There's 2 of them, and I guess one of them like crashed leaving the Earth's atmosphere or something crazy. So we're literally like the last of humanity. We land on this planet, do the awesome trope of walking around without our helmets on, and like idiots, like fungi attack one of our guys whose helmet is off, because why would you wear a helmet on an alien planet? And then this like anomaly happens, which I'll try and put clips in to kind of reference what I'm talking about. But basically a bunch of stuff happens, and we're trying to tell this crazy doctor guy to like call off the landing party, where they're going to start setting up like the city and stuff like that. We're like, this isn't safe, don't land here, go away. And he's like crazy and says, no, we're going to do it anyway, because don't listen to the people whose job it is to literally do this. So like I said, like the story just really didn't make sense, but you just kind of went with it. And then we get caught up in it. We're hurt. Trying to summarize it as easily as possible. We were hurt. One of the people put us in like cryo sleep and says like, oh, we'll fix you when you wake up, something like that. And then we wake up and it's just like post-apocalyptic mayhem. Like we're getting pulled out, we're getting shoved to like no man's land, we're like naked. Somehow we're not still hurt, even though no one healed us out of the cryo. And then so apparently it's been like 31 years later. The ship landed people, and then they made the decision to like wake up a bunch of people from cryo sleep instead of, because like the only alternate option, it was either wake them up and have them fend for themselves, or let them just die in cryo sleep to save the resources for the people that were surviving. Apparently they woke everyone up. There was a frenzy for food and supplies and stuff like that, which ultimately just led to what they quote as the same circumstances they were on back at Earth 1, but now they're just confined to a small area because they're trapped by the anomaly. And that kind of catches you up, and like there's just sections of the dialogue that is just off. Like there's this dangerous character who seems super powerful and stuff like that, and his name is Seth. Like and like you're left in cryo, and then when you meet up with your friends, they're just like, oh yeah, hi. Like it's been 31 years, and one of them literally said that she was gonna come back to grab you out of cryo, and like never did. She never did. She's like, oh, you're here, cool, good. Like good job, you made it. Just ridiculous. And there's a moment where one of the side quests, this wounded person wants you to go grab or go kill this basically mini boss because he's killed a bunch of her friends. And she says something like, bring me his head, which, most of the time you wouldn't take literally. It's just like a saying of like, go get him, bring me his head. Well, apparently your character actually literally brings the head back. How he or she cut it off, I don't know. Like, did he sit there with a small knife? Because I don't see like a butcher knife on him anywhere. Did he like shoot it off? Like, no, he just arrives back with the head of the person that he killed, just morbidly throwing it on the ground. So that part was interesting. And then there's just a lot of misses with a lot of the dialogue and interactions and stuff like that. Like that whole portion for like, if you're looking for a nice, coherent story, it's just not gonna happen. Like that's definitely a big negative. Just the story and narrative and dialogue and everything is just not good. It really isn't. Yeah, overall, that whole portion of it is just not good. Like I said, just not a really polished game, especially in that realm. Graphics look pretty alright. Like, they're nothing crazy, but they're nothing like Valheim, where it's made to look, kind of blocky. Graphics are pretty good. They have some of the cinematics are pretty. But yeah, let's get into some of the bad stuff. So most of this is gonna be like gameplay wise. So that's the bad stuff with the dialogue, the story, and everything like that. Like I said, I would definitely play the demo at least for that portion of it. That way you can kind of see what I mean, and get a feel for yourself. This could just be me nitpicking. But yeah, let's get into some of the bad like system stuff. So this game is primarily a cover system game like Gears. And I haven't played Gears in a while, but it is not this game does not have the best like cover system. It really doesn't. Like I remember playing Gears and it didn't really feel like you had to be in the cover 24/7. Like it was pretty easy to run around or get around corners and stuff like that. This just does not have like a polished cover system where it's clunky and it's hard to stay attached to the wall. Sometimes it's hard to even get onto the wall to get cover. Um, like, if they're gonna follow a cover system like Gears, it should definitely be polished like the Gears cover system was. And that's just not the case here. Like, sometimes using abilities that have range, you have to like hold the ability button and then click the mouse, and then you can actually aim the ability. Like, if you just tap it, it's just gonna toss it out there. But it doesn't do it if you like hold the ability. You have to hold the ability and click the mouse, and then you can aim it where to go. And enemies just like dead aim with grenades. Like, if they need to get you behind cover, just dead aim, grenades right on top of you. They have some deconstructible barriers, but they're always on your side, so you're always forced to move. Let's see, what else? A small one, there's no pause. Not even in solo. So, like, you know, I've played games like Destiny, for example, and when you're in a group, you don't have pause because it's online. But I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure in Destiny, if you are by yourself, loaded into an instance, you are able to pause the game. In this game, even though I'm completely solo, not able to pause the game. Even if I close my matchmaking to make sure like no one can just join in on me, you can't pause. Which means, like, if you know an achievement flies up on the screen or you get a new item or something like that, you can't spend the time to do that unless you finish the encounter, which kind of sucks. It's nitpicky, I know, but like Borderlands, for example, Borderlands 3 is a game I really enjoy as far as like the looter shooter genre. Allows you to pause because there's a lot of guns and like you want to know what each one does. And like one other small thing, a part of this, so some of the blue rarity guns, I don't remember what they call that in this one, I think it's just uncommon, they have abilities on them that are randomly rolled, and those abilities don't show up when you're looking at the gun on the ground. So like it'll tell you its stats and stuff like that, but it won't tell you what ability it has. So if you pick it up, you have to go look in your inventory to figure out what ability it has, and you can't do that in the middle of combat. So you can't like pick up a new gun and immediately use that in that combat. And to me, it's nitpicky, but it's not a plus. So we're putting it in the minuses. The other thing I had a hard time with, and this could just be me, was the controls were kind of hard to get used to. This is definitely seems like it's made for controller, kind of like how Destiny to me seemed like it's really made for controller. It's easier to switch weapons, because it's kind of the same system that Destiny has, where it's one hit of Y or change weapon swaps your two primary and secondary, and then if you press and hold Y or change weapon, then it switches to that third one, which in this one is a pistol. It's your sidearm, and it is not fast to switch to that sidearm. I'll put up gameplay here of me running out of ammo on both my weapons, trying to switch to my sidearm to finish off an enemy, and the animation takes forever. That I would have been better off reloading, and the sidearms don't do any damage. Like I think I had like 6 shots. I end up missing half of them because I'm just trying to spam the trigger while it's doing its flip animation. And then it's like a pea shooter. So I end up having to just wait and reload my weapon anyway to finish off the boss. So pretty much any of the runs, I didn't use the sidearm. I literally just stuck to the 2 main primaries and just left it at that. Oh yeah, and I couldn't get, if you used Logitech G Hub, could not get it to work with the game. Like it wouldn't figure out the application is running to switch the profile over, so I couldn't map things to my mouse, which really sucked because it would have been nice to have the abilities mapped to my mouse. I end up just switching the abilities to TFC and then my guns to 1, 2, 3 because having the abilities at 1, 2, 3 made them kind of hard to use in the middle of combat, especially the running gun classes where you're constantly trying to hit those abilities, you're running around. It was harder to use. So that was definitely a negative there. And then, like I said before, there was small bugs here and there. The cursor like remains on screen after like cutscenes and stuff like that. From what I noticed, you'd have to like enter in the menu and then exit, and then it'll go away. I had like one crash. Not really sure what caused it, but I just reloaded it back in. It seemed fine. There was a part where I couldn't set down my checkpoint and move forward. It just wasn't letting me do that. It wasn't letting me collect ammo. It wasn't letting me talk to anybody. And I had to shut the whole game down and reload it in order for it to work. And then at one point we had a boss from the main storyline. He just didn't shoot at us at all. Like, not even once. Made that run super easy because, like I said before, without being able to heal on each hit with like bullet damage, bosses are hard. I think I got lucky in one of my other playthroughs, I think with the Pyromancer, that had a shotgun that heals when you shoot, and it heals a lot. So that was my crutch. I just used that and hoped for the best. And like once I ran out of ammo, I had to panic because I wasn't healing. So that happened. I thought it happened again, but then he regained it. So I don't know if it happened at the beginning, because usually immediately when you start the cutscene, he immediately starts shooting. And there's another time that he didn't immediately start shooting, but he did get me a couple seconds later. So it's definitely a little buggy. Alright, so overall final remarks here. It is a relatively fun game, but it really does leave a lot to be desired as far as actual content. Like, I was never bored while playing, all 4 playthroughs, but I skipped all the cutscenes that are just not fun to watch over again. And it has some glaring problems as far as, bugs here and there, level design, things like that, where it's fun, but it could be much better in terms of playing. Like, while I was playing it, like, I was having fun, but I really was thinking, like, I would rather be playing Borderlands 3, where you have verticality, you have abilities, you have a load of really fun guns to play. Even from the beginning, you get just wacky guns. Just overall, like, a much more fun game to play, in my opinion, as this. Like, this is like a strict looter shooter, like, by definition. Like a looter shooter with cover mechanics. Like, the strictest definition you can get, that's this game. It has a lot of potential, but so did Anthem, so did Cyberpunk, etc. Like, so did Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, it'll be interesting to see where this game goes. I don't think there's enough substance to keep it afloat. I personally, and listen, I don't like reviews that do like 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10, unless they back it up with like a checklist of what it means, like what it hits to actually get that score. So until I do something like that, it's just going to be on a do I recommend, not recommend basis. It was fun to play, so I would recommend playing the demo. I would recommend choosing either the Technomancer or the Trickster. Like I said, I had a lot of fun playing the Trickster. Like, if you want to get the most fun out of it, I would try that class first. If you have a hard time with the boss, try the Technomancer. Like, I tried to matchmake with people at some point, but it took too long, so I just gave up. I wouldn't recommend pre-ordering it right now. I'd wait for it to come out and see, what people are reviewing it as that have purchased the game. Because when I looked on Steam, there's no reviews of the actual demo yet. So I don't know other people's opinions. But yeah, these are all just my opinions. This game, in my honest opinion, is just not recommended as it stands. I may get it to see what the rest of it's like. I may play because in the demo you can go to level 7, and during that you unlock one more skill per character, so I might try those out. I think there's 2 other side quests you can do in the demo that I didn't get to, and we'll go from there. So thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.